Where do I get ideas from warm-ups? Hi, I'm Louise from OTGrow, and welcome to our YouTube episode on how to adapt and get some ideas for warm-ups. So, in this YouTube channel, we discuss tips, tools, and techniques, ways that you can enhance your group therapy so that your clients can experience sustainable change. All right, so today I often get the question, where do you come up with your ideas for warm-ups and where can I get ideas? So we're going to discuss that a little bit today. So we are also doing this in preparation. In a couple of weeks, we're going to launch our YouTube series around criteria for warm-up and warm-ups. We often know that when therapists become tired or we get a bit lazy or time is limited, the first thing we want to chuck out of the window or out of our time frame is warm-ups. It feels sometimes maybe a bit superfluous, or it's going to take time and we're not going to get to what we really want to unpack. And that's often a very big mistake. Our warm-ups is exactly what creates, not only breaks the ice, but physically warms people up and emotionally. And it starts a certain momentum going that once our group is really warmed up, you're going to find that you're going to work far less in that group than a group that hasn't warmed up properly. And you're often going to find you're going to have to provide the energy and the momentum for group members if you don't do warm-ups. So keep your eyes out for our warm-up series. In the meantime, I wanted to share one or two ideas of where do I get ideas around warm-ups. So the obvious answer is our bumper activity book. I just wanted to remind you, those of you that don't have it yet, please send us an email, OTGrow@gmail.com, and just request information and a form to order your bumper activity book. So in our bumper activity book, we have some warm-ups, and also then we have group protocols that also include warm-ups. So there's a lot of ideas there. But if you don't have your bumper activity book yet, or it's still on your way and you have a group to do next week and you're wondering, but what should I do? I often encourage therapists to go and have a look at youth groups, to type in youth group exercises, youth group warm-ups, and there's some lovely ideas out there. And also team building. Type in team buildings, and there's some great ideas there. Even kiddies parties have some great ideas. The problem is that you're very seldom going to use those warm-ups exactly as they are in your groups, because we know that our warm-ups need to meet 5 criteria. And we're going to discuss each one of the criteria in our series. And when it doesn't meet those criteria, it's not an effective warm-up. And so it might be funny, or it's really great, it's a great idea. But if it doesn't have all the elements, you're going to find that it's going to fall flat and it's not going to create that momentum that we seek in our groups specifically. So how can you adapt? So I wanted to bring your attention to one of the warm-ups that we have in our bumper activity book, which was submitted by Sylvia Burkhead, and it's the social bingo, which is a warm-up I really love. The way Sylvia submitted it and the way it's in our bumper activity book, basically it is 3 by 3 squares that you print out in a table format. You give it to your group members and they need to write in every square what they want to know about group members. So you might say, I wonder who else likes pizza. I wonder who else is widowed. I wonder who else has had a traffic fine. And so they fill in the different squares, and then they have to go around the group and find somebody that suits or fits that description. That person then signs, and you're only allowed to have 1 signature per page. And so that is one way that you can use the social bingo that Sylvia submitted to us, which is great. One of the things we have to be careful for is that it can be, especially if the group is still quite new and they are very much in the forming stage, you're going to find that the things that they ask of each other is fairly superficial. And so they might write, who enjoys walking with shoes, who enjoys or being barefoot, who also drives VW car, who also colors their hair. And so it ends up being very superficial. And yes, there are connection points, but we actually want to prepare people and connect people so they become safe with each other and start sharing deeper. And for that to happen, we need to challenge and push a little bit for them to go a bit deeper. So what I did is we had more than the NPO that I work for. We have managed to secure some funding, and part of that funding is to develop leadership of NPOs in our area. And so for the first time they got together, I adapted Sylvia's social bingo, and I did 5 by 5 rows. And those I wrote in myself, and some of them are superficial and some of them are deeper. So some of them is, for instance, who has been to a rock concert? That could be seen as superficial. Who has the same hobby as you? Who supports the same team as you? But at the same time, I've also included slightly deeper ones, like who has done something they regret. I've got here, who shares the same dream as you? So you need to talk about the dream that you have. Who has lost a child? And so I have brought in a variety of them. And can you also see that the questions I've asked here is in alignment with the group that I'm going to have? If I'm going to have a group for maybe team building in a specific organization, in a specific team, I might ask questions that also relate to their work situation or the institution they're working for. Who shares one of the values of the company you work for? And so it's bringing in a little bit of where we are going with that. And then you can even make it more fun, and you can say, well, if you get 5 in a row, but it has to be 5 in a row, then you can shout bingo. Or you've got to get 9, that either it's a row this way and that way, or it's a diagonal and a cross, but you have to have 5 rows, 2 rows, or 9 blocks that touch on each other. And so that also brings a little bit of an element of encouraging them to maybe ask the questions that are a little more uncomfortable. And when they've got their 9 squares, they call out bingo. And what I did then in the leadership group, I then encouraged them to see how many more squares they could fill. Now, because there's 25 squares and it was a slightly smaller group, names could appear twice, but they could not appear more than twice. And it was encouraged that everybody's name appears at least once on your form. All right, so I'm also hoping you can see through this example not only where you can find warm-ups, but to take warm-ups that you might have seen somewhere and start tweaking them for your client group, for the vision that is behind the project or program, and what group you are facilitating and what you would like to achieve. So hopefully that gives you some ideas. And again, just to say, look out for our series on warm-ups, where we discuss each of the criteria so that you can take warm-ups and tweak them to become very powerful warm-ups. And in the meantime, happy facilitation.